Can you disagree with somebody and still love them, or are those two concepts mutually exclusive? We're going to talk about that in today's video. Hey guys, and welcome back to God's Word Made Simple by Simple Servant Ministries. My name is Aaron Hawk, and if this is your first time visiting with us, I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us today. God's Word Made Simple is an online discipleship ministry dedicated to taking God's Word and making it simple. We want to help you understand God's Word, apply it to your life, and grow in your relationship with the Lord. Also, if you appreciate this ministry and content, at some point make sure and hit that subscribe button, turn that bell notification to all so you don't miss any future videos. We would love to have you as part of our family. Okay guys, welcome back. So I wasn't quite sure how to handle today's video. I didn't spend a lot of time on it because this is kind of a simple concept, I think, but you can give me your feedback in the comments, of course. But yeah, the question is, can you disagree with someone and still love them? Or are those two things mutually exclusive? Is it no longer possible? I can't say no longer. I'm showing that I'm in the middle age range now. But is it no longer possible, or do people not believe that you can disagree and still love someone? I think your answer to that is going to be either based on logic, and as a Christian, based not only on logic, but also on the Bible, because it has a lot to say about these things. But I think also the initial response is going to be largely generational. The youngest generation, Gen Z, now I know there's technically another group under that, but the youngest, let's say the youngest professional age as of the recording of this video, the youngest professional generation, Gen Z. Now, look, first off, I'm not trying to lump all Gen Zs in one group because there's no such thing. But as a broad sweep of culture and as it changes over time, Gen Z has the reputation for believing that you cannot disagree with someone and still love them. And that's why in much of society you'll have a movement and somebody will disagree with the movement, and then the response will be, well, you're just a bigot or you're just hateful. Now, sometimes that's just straight up manipulation. I would argue oftentimes. But it also fits with a lot of what the generation has been taught, and it started in the millennial generation. But let me back up for a second and share a story. I've shared the story with you guys once before, at least, I think just once, on a video, but it's appropriate now to share it. So let's address the logic side of this question first. When I was in either 9th or 10th grade, I can't remember what it was, but high school, early on in high school, I had a geometry class, and man, I actually loved that class. I know a lot of people don't like it, but yeah, I'm weird, whatever. I really enjoyed that class. And if you've ever had a class on geometry, a lot of the class is based on logic. It's really, that's the foundation of geometry, is logic. So that's where you learn a lot of proofs. So it starts off with logical proofs, usually, depending on who's teaching it, but typically you will start out learning proofs. If this, then this, and some basic logic. Man, I wish in school people would just have an entire class on logic and argument. That's something that I wish that I had had, because I'm a very logical person, but also because I think that's something that is desperately needed in society. Being taught what to think, not so good. Being taught how to think, ding, 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 that's the way to win in life and all of that, in spite of it not seeming like that sometimes. But anyway, you'll start out in proofs, and then you'll move into how that applies to math and specifically geometry. That's where you get into the Pythagorean theorem and all of those sorts of things. The very first day of class, and please understand, I'm not trying to make fun of my teacher. This was her first year teaching, and I'm assuming she was assigned to teach this class, not that it was necessarily what she wanted to teach. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but either way, I'm not intending to make fun of my teacher. It just illustrates the point. First day of class, we walk in, and on the four corners of the room, you have agree, disagree, strongly disagree. And the teacher makes the statement. Well, first she gives us the instructions. I'm going to make a statement, and I want you to go to whichever corner of the room represents your reaction to that statement. I agree with the statement, I disagree, I strongly agree with the statement, I strongly disagree. So she makes the statement, cats are smarter than dogs. Okay, go. So everybody in the classroom stands up, we go to the various corners. There's a few in the agree, there's a few in the disagree, there's a few in the strongly agree. And then, as is typical in my life, there is literally just me in the strongly nobody else, just me in the strongly disagree category. So she asks the people, she goes around the room, why did you choose this? Okay, why do you think cats are smarter than dogs? And people gave their various responses. Okay, the disagree, why do you disagree? People gave their responses. She goes to the strongly agree crowd. Okay, why do you strongly agree with that statement? And then she gets to me. She gives me a funny look and she goes, now, why did you choose strongly disagree? And I said, well, and I wasn't trying to be sarcastic, I promise I wasn't. I was like, well, because I strongly disagree with the statement. I don't strongly disagree that cats are smarter than dogs. And I was trying to be respectful. I kind of kept it a short answer. Plus, let's face it, in high school, you don't want to be the guy that goes on and talks too much. So I was trying to keep it short, And the teacher goes, okay, well, then why do you think dogs are smarter than cats? I was like, I don't. And that one was out of my mouth. I mean, I wasn't even trying to give a response. It was just, well, I don't. And then I will never forget as long as I live the way she looked at me at first and the way that she looked at me in that moment. She goes, I don't remember, we're in the South. I think she said honey or something like that. You're in the wrong category. You should be over there in the disagree or the agree or strongly disagree. I was like, no, I strongly disagree with the statement. Cats are smarter than dogs. I strongly disagree with that. She goes, well, then why do you think dogs are smarter than cats? I was like, I don't. She did not understand that disagreeing with this statement does not automatically mean agreeing with the opposite. Ironically, that's one of the proofs and one of the fallacies that we later covered in that class. And again, I'm not making fun of her. She was her first year teaching, and I strongly suspect that she was assigned that class. These are not things that are commonly taught, which is why they put it in there and why I think there should be a whole class or more dedicated to it. But I think that's a common misconception, and that was even when I was growing up. And the younger audience is going to go, yeah, you're old, but the older audience is like, man, he's still a kid, right? He's only 40. Just because you disagree with one statement does not automatically mean you agree with the opposite. So she asked me again, and my simple response was, well, the statement was cats are smarter than dogs. I strongly disagree with that. That doesn't mean that I agree dogs are smarter than cats. I think each of them have their own type of intelligence. Cats have this type of intelligence and they do these things. Dogs have this type of intelligence and they do these things. I don't think there's a way to measure which one is more intelligent. They're intelligent in different ways, and I don't know how you would rank them in more or less intelligent. They are different. So just because I disagree with this doesn't mean that I agree with the opposite. And she thought about it a second. She goes, you know what? You're right. And moved right into the next lesson. She did at least say you're right. But I think that's a problem in modern America, is that somebody will make a statement, I believe this. And everybody goes, oh, you horrible person, you're a bigot because that means that you believe this, and then all the buzzwords come out. You're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a whatever, all the buzzwords come out. No, just because I disagree with this doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with whatever we perceive to be the opposite of that. But I think that's a problem, is that I think as a society, the younger generation, which represents social media, which represents current popular culture, and there's a whole issue of the youngest generation feeling like everything else is irrelevant. Just because it's not relevant in your little world doesn't mean it's not relevant to the majority of the rest of existence. But that's a whole nother video, whole nother day. But I think that's something that the younger generation in particular struggles with. And I don't necessarily blame the youngest generation. That's what they've largely been taught. But because of that, to not agree with someone is tantamount to hating them. Well, if you hate someone, you can't love them. I don't know that I agree with that statement. I'm saying this is how people reason through that. I don't think that's necessarily true. In the most biblical sense of hate and love, I agree. In the generic sense, I mean, people get quite upset. How do you define hate? How do you define love, right? People get quite upset with people they love. Don't believe me? We just had Thanksgiving and Christmas not that long ago. How'd your family meal go? Anyway, now hopefully most of you have great family relations, but that's kind of the butt of all the jokes during the holidays, right? Or Christmas season, if the phrase holidays offends you. See, we can use different terminology and still love each other and get along. But anyway, in a lot of modern society or modern conversation, the younger generation, again, I'm not trying to pick on you guys, it's just that this is a change in the way that culture at large perceives things. If you don't agree with this, then it means you have to agree with the opposite. And therefore, it means that you automatically hate the first thing, which means it's not possible to love the people of the first thing. There are several logical fallacies all wrapped up into that one line of logic. First off, disagreeing with A does not mean you agree with B. Second, love and hate are defined differently in different contexts and with different people. So there's a fallacy, first off, in believing that because I disagree with A, I have to believe B. But then there's also a logical leap or fallacy in assuming that disagreement means hate. And there's also potentially a fallacy of believing that hate means you can't love at the same time. So there's several fallacies all wrapped up into one, with one potential fallacy there at the end. But it's an absence of nuance that's kind of, from a logical standpoint, it's that people haven't been taught logic, and therefore it seems like, well, you know, you don't love me, you're against me. Well, Jesus did talk about that in the context of the kingdom. You're either in or out. But to take that extreme to every aspect of life, that doesn't work. It's a logical contradiction, and it's untenable. It's not sustainable as a person with any relationships, much less society. You're going to disagree with people, and you have to learn to grow up and learn that I can disagree with you and still respect you. I can disagree with you and still love you. Just because I disagree doesn't mean that I hate you. And I think that's where a lot of the tension comes from, is this logical fallacy, the string of logical fallacies combined with a lot of heightened emotion. And, you know, every generation goes through some version of this. Every generation, you know, they get into that kind of middle high school toward the end of college, and everything is all passion, and I'm fired up about everything because, you know, for the first time in your life, you're able to truly reason through things, form opinions of your own. You have an idealized view of the world and how things should be based on your framework. So there's an inherent arrogance to youth. By the way, there is an inherent arrogance to being older as well, because some people are just arrogant. I've seen everything and I've done everything and I know it all. There's an inherent arrogance on both. It's just different. Ironically, both think they know it all. But this is a common thing every generation goes through. The difference is this is the first generation raised online. Everything is in social media, where there's not context, there's not nuance, there's not the ability to dialogue by and large, because it's all snippets of things being shot back and forth without context, and therefore without nuance. And I think that's a problem. So I want to share with you just an example in Proverbs 27, 1 through 6. And I did a Proverbs, I'll point to that section. I recorded a video on that. It says, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Let another praise you and not your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips." And I promise this will make more sense in a second. I just wanted you to have the context. "A stone is heavy and sand weighty," different, but both heavy. "But the provocation of a fool is heavier than both of them." Should be fairly obvious. I explained it in that video. "Wrath is fierce and anger is a flood, but who can stand before jealousy?" Now here comes the part that's specific to this video. "Better is an open rebuke." You're wrong. I disagree with you. A rebuke doesn't have to be harsh. It doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to mean I hate you. It's a correction. Had a conversation with somebody on the phone yesterday where they were rebuking me. I asked some questions and I said, okay, in love, here's where the problems are in what you're saying to me. And then I had to rebuke them for what we uncovered together. That's iron sharpening iron. And for context, that person has come to me previously on some other things and rebuked me. "Aaron, you're missing something. You're wrong here." And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I love you for saying it. Thank you. Because I can't get better without feedback, right? I cannot grow without somebody helping me see the areas that I'm blind. "Better is open rebuke than love that is concealed," right? Somebody's like, "Man, I love that person." Well, that's great that that person has warm fuzzies. Kind of like I talked about, was it last week or the week before? I did a video reaction to the comments on my YouTube channel because I kind of needed to get caught up. So I did that and I told several people, man, you have no idea how encouraging your comments are when you encourage me or even just asking questions. But especially just personally, the ones that are saying, "Hey, thank you, this helped me in some way." That is an encouragement. There might be 100 people that are thinking that, but one person says it. The 100 people thinking that, they have warm fuzzies, but I don't know that because I'm not them. I don't know it until somebody says it, right? So better is an open rebuke than love that is concealed, because I can learn from a rebuke. Either I learn that there is a perception problem, that the other person has an issue that I might be able to help them through, or more times than not, there's something that I'm doing that I can do better or that I'm just flat out doing wrong and I need to correct. That's the purpose of a rebuke. Without disagreement, we don't grow as people, and that's something that's being missed. Then verse 6 in particular is the one that I came to for this discussion. "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy." Faithful are the wounds of a friend, right? When somebody says, "Dude, you're wrong. Aaron, you're missing it. You're wrong in what you're doing right now." It hurts. I've got pretty thick skin, but it still hurts. I don't want to hear I'm doing it wrong. I'm a human. We don't ever want to be told that we're doing something wrong. We want to be told, "Hey, you're doing great. You're the king. You're the queen. You're the whatever." That's what we want to hear, but that does not help us grow. When someone is honest, when they're honest and saying something positive, it lifts you in a way that's different than false flattery, which is the point of, "But deceitful are the kisses of an enemy." But faithful are the wounds of a friend. Man, when somebody hits something and it's true and you're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Thank you." Yeah, it hurts. But faithful are the wounds of a friend. That's what's going to help me grow. So back to the question, and you can disagree with me. It's okay. In the comments, you can disagree with me. But that's why I firmly believe that it is more than possible to disagree with someone and still love them. I think there's some logical fallacies that lead some to believe that that's not possible, but I think it also misses that we can't grow without some honesty. Now, I'm not talking about some of those people that brag, "Well, I'm nothing if not honest, and I'm just going to tell the truth no matter what," and they use that as a cloak for being a jerk. That's totally different. I'm not talking about someone that's just abrasive to be abrasive and then cloaking it under the, "Well, I just tell people the truth." You need to speak the truth in love. There's a great book called The Grace and Truth Paradox that even if you're not a reader, it's a short, thin little book. it's helpful. If you've not thought about this before, it's a very helpful book on where is that balance between speaking the truth and calling people out, but also showing them grace because we're all a work in process or in progress. All right, guys, that's it for today. This video is long enough. I don't know how long it is, but it's long enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, you can disagree. That's totally cool. And we can still love each other even if we disagree. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear it. Otherwise, thank you very much, and God bless.